All right, let's begin. Thank you all for taking the time out to check out what we're up to here at Capacity. We're super excited to share with you a bunch of our client implementations, as well as how we can help you go do your best work. We at Capacity are working with a wide variety of clients in the mortgage space, including folks like American Pacific, CMG Financial, PRMG, US Bank Home Mortgage, Planet Home Lending, Leader One, Midland States, and others. So today, what I thought we'd do is we're going to go through a couple of examples that we're working with clients. We'll touch on how the Capacity Console works, and then we'll show where we're heading with our workflows product. So let's go ahead and dive in. Share my screen. And we'll start off by demonstrating Capacity at Planet Home Lending. So you can see here, they've got the Capacity bot on the lower right. They've rebranded the bot for the persona that they'd like. So the bot name here is Stella. You can see it has the Planet Home Lending logo at the top. So you could ask Stella a question like, how do I refinance my loan? And you'll notice here, as we're typing, our autocomplete will direct you toward the questions that Capacity knows how to answer. So it comes back instantly with a response, just as if you would ask somebody on the other end. Or I could ask a question like, do I qualify for forbearance plan? And again, instantly you get the response back. If it's a great response, you can thumb that up, which tells the Capacity machine learning to match that a little more often. If you thumb it down, we'll bring someone in to help you improve. Now, in the industry we're in, you get a lot of acronyms thrown out. And a lot of times we take for granted that consumers don't necessarily know what these acronyms mean. So someone could ask a question like, what is DTI? Capacity will go into its acronym section of the knowledge base and come back and say, DTI stands for debt to income. Now, anytime you work with consumers with an open-ended search, open-ended chat, they can type in the darndest things. And so we want the Capacity platform to be able to handle all of these nuances. So if I type in lawn service, even though that doesn't match to anything directly, the Capacity clarifier will come back and say, oh, did you mean what does a loan service transfer mean? Will the previous loan servicer forward my payment to the new company, or none of the above? I'm going to pick the top result. And then again, instantly, Capacity comes back with the response. So it's just handling and learning ins and outs of your org, both for your consumers as well as for your team members. Next up, let's kick over to homefundit.com, which is a website run by CMG Financial. You can see here again, they branded the bot. It's Peyton the Bulldog here at HomeFundit. And you can have Peyton fetch responses out of that knowledge base. So if I want to say, change my down payment amount, again, Peyton will go out and find that answer and come back to you instantly. Or if I asked a question like, what are fees paid to the lender? Again, comes back instantly with a response. It's just simple, straightforward, frictionless. Think about all those forms that people have to fill out. People aren't quite sure what, you want to know, what is a HUD-1 form? Again, Capacity comes back instantly with a response. Now, there are a lot of different customizations you can do to this web concierge that we're showing here, the chat interface. So I'm going to kick over to our capacity.com website and show some examples. So one example here is we've got the Capacity console here on our Capacity concierge on the Capacity website. You can see as I load it up, in addition to the introductory message, we can set pre-selected questions from the beginning. So if I wanted to know how long to deploy, we make that a one-click type of question. And again, Capacity comes back instantly with the response. Now, so far we've shown you the steak dinner, the appetizer, the wine pairing. Let's go back to the kitchen, see how the sausage is made, and walk through the Capacity console. in this for PRMG. You can search the knowledge base at the top and customize your profile. You can look at new exchanges, new question and answer pairs, recently updated, expiring soon, or expired. We also can create as many directories as you'd like over here. So PRMG is set up for their COVID-19 questions, internal concierge, cloud files, and FAQs. You can pull up the console here and even go full screen if we'd like. I'm gonna ask a question, like an internal question. So if I'm on the marketing team and I wanna know, how do I order business cards? And it comes back with autocomplete. I click on my question. Capacity comes back instantly with a response. We're just making it simple and straightforward, frictionless to access all of your company intelligence, whether it's internal or customer facing. Another example, we want to know about these, everyone's talking about these COVID-19 borrower certificates. Again, as I start typing in, does every applicant need to complete the COVID-19 borrower certificate or certification? Again, Capacity comes back instantly with the answer. Another example, large organization. You're trying to figure out, how do I reach out to this particular department? What is that email address? So if I wanted to know, how do I reach broker services? Again, I just ask that to Capacity, comes back instantly with the response. We're just trying to make it as simple as possible to access all of your company intelligence. All right, now a lot of companies are in the AI space and are talking about all the cool things that they can do, but they don't like to talk about what happens if the bot doesn't know the answer. And a lot of companies really shy away from that. They kind of put that on the side. We should talk about that right up front. So across our entire portfolio of clients, on average, we can answer about 84% of your questions instantly. But for the other 16%, we don't want to leave you hanging in the wind. And so we have built a escalation path that will gracefully escalate up from the bot directly to your support team. We're going to show that example now. So I'm going to go back to my capacity.com website, and I'm going to ask a question. Do you support star ratings? Now, if Capacity knows the answer, it'll come back to me with it. If not, it'll say, David, I can't find the answer for that. I can file a ticket and have someone get back with you ASAP. And depending on how you have it configured, that ticket can be filed off to the help desk, or it could be, you can go create a live chat as well. I'll put in my email address. And now that ticket will be filed. Now, if I was on the other end of the spectrum, I would have gotten a message or a proactive notification saying, oh, an unanswered question has just come in. So let's walk through that experience. So go over to the Capacity help desk here. And we'll just load this up. As this is loading, I want to point out a couple of different features of the help desk. You can see all of your tickets on the left. You can filter your tickets up on the top. So if I see this ticket that came in, do you support star ratings? We can see here, we can add tags, the description, see who it came from. You could assign this to different groups or individuals in the organization. So if you wanted IT questions to go here and marketing questions to go there, or you wanted questions from the customer support section to go in one place versus new customer lead gen type questions to go in another place, you can assign all the groups that you'd like. Now, in addition to collecting whatever information we want from that ticket, we can go to the ticket status and flip this to in progress. This means that this ticket is actively being worked on. Now that unlocks these tasks that are available. So we can map that unanswered question to an existing exchange, existing Q&A pair, or we can go create a new exchange right here in the response. Now, first of all, we make it so that you can edit the inquiry that was coming in because, frankly, somebody might have misspelled it or mistypoed it. So we'll go ahead and capitalize the question there. And I could say, yes, we support star ratings in our guided conversations product. I can save this to whatever dialog I'd like. I'll put this on the website dialog. And then I could set an expiration date if this information was really only good till the end of the year or the end of the fiscal or the end of the quarter. I can also specify if I want this answer to show up in autocomplete going forward. Now, when I hit Save to Knowledge Base, we have now taught that to Capacity, and I can go flip this over to Done. And now I want to show a couple of things. I'm going to pull up my Gmail here. And we should be getting a little proactive email back saying, earlier you asked me this question. Let's go take a look. And if I go pull this in here, I said earlier you asked, do you support star ratings? I have an updated response for you. Yes, we support star ratings in our Guided Conversations product. So again, we like to call it no question left behind, because whatever you ask Capacity, you are definitely going to get a response, either instantly from the bot or from a follow-up via your support team. All right, so we've talked a lot about how Capacity can pull information from the knowledge base, from your documents, but we can also pull information to generate leads. So we have integrations with platforms like HubSpot and Marketo, and in fact, through our developer platform, you can connect Capacity to just about any marketing automation platform, as long as it has a RESTful, publicly facing API. So if I click on this example here, this is our dev platform, I have one skill or API call where we've hooked the HubSpot API up to Capacities. You put in your API endpoint, you put in your fields, you can go in and set your authentication, your test variables, and now an integration with HubSpot will be available on either on your website or on your intranet. Speaking of intranets, Capacity can deploy in a wide variety of places, including Salesforce.com. So we have a native embeddable Capacity widget that you can place in your Salesforce Lightning instance. So you could go ask Capacity all sorts of different questions. So if I wanted to know, who is the primary contact for West Community, Capacity knows that primary contact maps back to the CRM, knows that we use Salesforce as our CRM. It's going to go log in as me into Salesforce and go pull this information. Now, we actually need to connect Jason with Jeremy on my team. So I can go back to Capacity and say, forward that to Jeremy. And now it's smart enough to know that Jeremy maps to Jeremy Burrows, my executive assistant. It's going to actually go write a little email to Jeremy with the information we just pulled up. Again, it's just simple, straightforward, it's frictionless. Now, on the internal use case, you may have implemented a messaging platform like Skype, like Slack, like Microsoft Teams. I'm going to show an example of that here. So this is an example of Capacity running within your Slack environment. So I could ask a question like, how do I connect to the VPN? Now that we're all working from home, many of us are working from home, it's a helpful question. And again, it would take me right to the setup guide. Again, we still have this thumbs up, thumbs down in terms of the helpfulness score. But so far, we've had Capacity retrieve information from these systems. Not only can it do that, but it can also take actions on my behalf as well. So I could say something like, I want to schedule 15 minutes to meet with Cindy and Chris. And now Capacity will look at my calendar, look at Cindy's calendar, look at Chris's calendar. Smart enough to know we've got multiple Chris's in the org. So I can go select Chris Dewar. And now it'll find the first 5 times when all of us can meet, taking into account our meeting availability windows, our time zones, and our preferences. I'll go ahead and say, let's meet today at 3:30. And the next thing you know, it will go in and add that directly to either our Google calendars or our Outlook calendars. And just to show this is actually happening, I'll have it click over to my GCal to show you this all. And it'll go ahead and kick in. I'm going to go ahead and delete this invite after it pops up because poor Cindy and Chris are the victims of my calendar scheduling demos. And they get mad when I leave these fake invites on there, but you get the drift. Now, last thing I want to show on Slack here is that not only can we integrate with horizontal apps like NetSuite or Salesforce or Outlook, but we can also integrate with vertical specific apps in the mortgage space like Ellie Mae's Encompass. So I can say something like, show the Johnson loan. And Capacity is going to go log in as me into Encompass and go pull all the relevant info, the rate lock, the status, etc. Or I could ask a question like, what are USDA income limits? And it will go into Ellie Mae's all regs and find those sections of the regs to come link me back to. All right, so far we have shown Capacity running both internally and externally, pulling from your knowledge base, from your documents, guided conversations, a bunch of app integrations. Let's show how we can put all of this together to automate the key tasks that you all take on. So I'm going to jump into a little demonstration of our workflows product. So the way to think about a workflow is imagine taking an offline process, digitizing that process, and assigning steps to that process directly to the Capacity bot. So here we've got 3 workflows: employee onboarding, loan creation, and loan origination. I'm going to click on loan origination, and we can see all of the steps of the workflow itself: collecting the app, submitting to underwriting, credit bureaus, approvals, doc verification. Now, if I went over to the left here, I can add different steps into the workflow: comments, tasks, workflows, actions, approvals, guided conversations, and notifications. We're going to start out by adding a workflow within the workflow. I always like to joke around. It's like those kind of like those Russian dolls where you have the doll within the doll within the doll. This is really helpful if you've got a team that manages an inner process that's embedded in an outer process that's embedded in a bigger process itself. Now, in addition to pulling in a workflow, we want to send the closing disclosure at the end of the loan. So we're going to add a new task, give it a name, a description. We can assign it to Isabel on my team. When I go hit create, this is now part of the workflow and embedded right in the step. I go up to the top of the workflow, turn this on, back to my main screen, click on loan origination. We can see a little time later, Amy Anderson has applied for loan. She's about 3/4 of the way through. We can see all of the steps that she's completed along the way. Now, a lot of the organizations we work with don't have great insights into how long their processes are taking. So we want to give you the full picture, the full transparency, so you can help make your workflows flow. So if I click on this particular task, you'll see this task has been in progress for 15 minutes. On average, it takes about an hour to complete, and it's taken 3 days from the beginning of the workflow to get here. So if you want to know what are your bottlenecks, what are your holdups, what's clogging the drain of your flow, we can help you identify it. Now, if I click on View Ticket Details, again, this will kick me back over to that help desk. This is that view that is now filtered for Isabel, so she can just see her tasks. She can click on an embedded action, flip this over to resolved, and be on her merry way. Now, if we ended there, I think we could save you all a lot of time and automate a lot of what you're doing just by keeping better track of what's going on. But ultimately, what we want to do is assign as many of these tasks as possible, not to your team, but to the Capacity bot. I'm going to click on this task, and instead of assigning it to another team member, we are going to reassign this to Capacity. Because of the developer platform we showed earlier, we've got all these embedded actions we can pull in. In this case, I'll pull in a send an email skill. We can put in the from, the to, the subject, and the body, even populate variables that we've collected earlier on in the flow. Go hit create. And now instead of this task being assigned to Isabel, it's now assigned to Capacity and linked directly to our Gmail integration. Now fast forward a couple of steps and stages. We think we've got an opportunity to automate as much as 70% of your workflow by assigning tasks directly to the capacity bot. So the way to think about how this works is we've got a chat bot powered by AI that can answer a industry-leading 84% of your questions. Anything it can't answer will kick over to the help desk where one of your team members can jump in and resolve it, either via live chat or via ticket. We've got a workflow automation platform that's powered by our developer platform. So you can pull in all the different apps and APIs that you like, as well as your Boolean logic and your stages and your sub workflows. Anything that can't be automated, again, becomes a task in the help desk. So the help desk becomes the linchpin for the human tasks with the automated Q&A via the bot and the automated task enablement through the workflow builder. So with that, I'm going to open up for questions so far, and we can dive in. See a couple of questions coming through here. First question, how quickly can capacity be deployed? So when we sign a client today, our goal is to get capacity in your hands within a few weeks. So you can start testing, you can start asking questions, you can get deployed very, very quickly. Now we'll typically do somewhere around 2 to 3 training sessions. Well, we'll get a representative set of your team, maybe 3 to 5 people, to ask questions for 25, 30 minutes and just learn the ins and outs of your org. That helps us establish your acronyms, your company-specific lexicon, that sort of thing. Also helps us recognize if there are any documents that we need to get access to or any knowledge that we need to put in the system. After that, we go live, and you can go internal first, you can go customer-facing first. It's really the world is your oyster in terms of how you deploy. Now, if you want us to build out a custom app integration for you, we can do that on a phased rollout, but our goal is to get you up and running as quickly as possible. Next question. What does the onboarding process entail? So we covered that one. Okay, here we go. How can you use capacity for lead generation? So I mentioned this briefly earlier, but with capacity, you can place it on your consumer-facing website, and you can use it to drive leads directly to your preliminary form, or you can actually bring the preliminary form into the chat experience itself. Again, we've integrated with Salesforce, HubSpot, Marketo. So just about any marketing automation platform you're using can be hooked up to capacity. Another one here, if capacity doesn't know the answer to a question, what happens? So as we showed in the demo earlier, if capacity doesn't know the answer to the question, we are going to notify someone on your team to say, hey, this is the time to jump in and help answer that question. And they can get notified via an instant message, via an email. Got a couple different ways that notification can go out. And then that team member can either send it follow-up email or follow-up IM if it's internal, or they can jump in via live chat. Another question that came in here, let's see this one. Can you survey your customers through capacity to keep a pulse on the customer experience? Absolutely. So one of the top deployment reasons that people have for using us is that we help them create a better customer experience. I was just reading up a stat on one of our financial services clients this morning. With capacity, they were able to move their net promoter score up by 10 points while reducing their call volume into their call center by 20%. And so their business was growing, they got calls down, and net promoter score up, all through the use of the capacity platform. Any other questions here? If you have any other questions, please feel free to post in the public chat. All right, well, thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to working with you and look forward to helping your team do its best work and be in the place where work flows.